No Doubter Nation, we bring you a special extra episode here on this fine Wednesday evening, August 10th of 2022. It is myself, Travis T. Mo Lawfully, my co-host Barrett Boom Bostic, and then a returning third-time guest here on the No Doubter podcast. She is a MLB The Show content creator, a Twitch and YouTube partner, editor at Southside Sox as part of the SB Nation family, and she has a brand new gig that is coming up here very soon. And she is going to be moving her life from the plains and cold Midwest winters of Chicago down to the sunny beaches of San Diego, California. She is the namesake of the Sand Squad itself. Friends, we were talking about Ashley Sanders back again for the third time here on the pod. Ashley, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on. I hope both of you are doing well as well.
Oh, yeah. I can't even imagine what your life's been like the past few days.
Oh, yeah. It's a whirlwind.
Absolutely. So third time we're having you on here. We met you almost for the first time, I think almost a year ago. It was like early fall of 2022. Rise, the playoffs were starting last year. Got to learn more about you, what you were doing. You were heading into your final year of college. We had you on again back over the winter, right before the season started, to kind of give your insights into what you were thinking with the White Sox this year. We'll kind of unpack more of all that because it's been an interesting season for them, to say the least. This year, you've since graduated from college. I believe you had double major and double minors, if I remember correctly. Yes, you're an overachiever. We commend you because that is absolutely nuts. You've since jumped into basically the content creation world full steam. And then you have this new gig here, which kind of I hinted at here in the intro. For any of our audience that's following you on Twitter has probably already seen it. Not to learn more about in a second. Just kind of unpack everything that's been part of your life the last several months here of diving just full time into this world of content creation, the opportunities you've had with the All-Star game, just all that has happened now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's one thing after another. It's just a complete domino effect, if you will, with absolutely no stop. So like you were saying, I just finished my last year of college. I was a double major in English and health science with psychology and chemistry minors. And so basically I graduated on Saturday, May 7th. And then Sunday, May 8th was my 2-year streamiversary stream. Nice. So I was live for almost 7 hours. And then at the end of that stream is when I made the announcement of, hey, because of all the support everyone has given me, I'm going to take a shot and try to do this full time for a year and then kind of reevaluate after that year, see if maybe I should entertain graduate school, see if there's another opportunity that will come up within that year or after that year. But I wanted to bet on myself and I give back to the community because they've been so gracious to me. And so then I went straight into that. No break, no like summer break, if you will. Went into full-time streaming, full-time content the second after I graduated. And then not too long after, a few months after, I was reached out and I was notified that there was a position opening at Sony San Diego studio. And so I saw the postings. They were on like LinkedIn as well as like the main Sony career website. And I was like, might as well apply for this. As that was all going on, there was also an invitation to the Creators Cup that was going on during the All-Star weekend. That was a mix of MLB The Show creators as well as baseball content creators and general influencers who were paired up that were competing against one another with one another in a little like head-to-head co-op tournament. It was so much fun. Got to meet an incredible amount of people. The events of the All-Star game were incredible, which we can absolutely get into more detail. Then I return home from the trip. Everything kind of finishes with the job, the application process, the whole interview process. And before I know it, I received an offer letter to become the next content specialist on the live team with San Diego Studio. And of course, I had to say yes. This is a dream come true to work with a company that I have played their game since 2018. I've wanted to play it even sooner, just didn't have a PlayStation. And it's been really, really fun. Everything's a whirlwind. The movers come in a week. So everything is falling into place.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because you went to LA for All-Star Weekend, but now my geography of California is very grossly inaccurate, but San Diego's further south, right?
Yeah, it's like 2 hours south.
Man, right along the U.S.-Mexico border right there.
Yes, very close.
Got Tijuana not far.
Yes.
not seeing a bunch of good at Tijuana. It's kind of wild there.
Yeah, and are you gonna miss the polar vortexes and the windy winter weather?
Right. It's like I've always enjoyed the warmer weather more than the cold weather, but I really like that Midwestern attitude of, oh, it's negative 30 degrees outside. I'll just finally put on my winter jacket for the winter. So I like that fun mentality, and I'm very excited to see how I adjust to like a warm climate all year round. And when I come back to visit, especially when I visit during the winter months back home, to be like, oh no, I'm gonna eventually be one of those people who will need my winter coat when it's only 50 degrees outside when I'm back in San Diego, and then I'll need 50 layers when I'm back home and it's like below zero.
Yeah, I will say I have some experience of visiting down in San Diego. I don't know like how I don't know how much you got kind of like the feeling of being out there in LA too, but you know, like there's all those little microclimates that kind of exist based on where you are in the city. So like the downtown LA area, probably closer to Dodger Stadium, is a good bit warmer there than it is out over by the coastline. You'll certainly feel that in San Diego. And look, yeah, I think layers will be your friend out there. And like all my friends that are like from the Midwest or up north that have moved down here to Texas, they've basically become wimps when it comes to the winter. They're like, oh, it's 60 degrees. I need I need my puffer jacket now and like 3 layers and everything. So probably will become you if history serves things correct.
Absolutely. You know, we'll try to last as long as I can.
That's great. So yeah, the All-Star Weekend festivities, you hinted at that. You got to be part of this creators event down there. What all is it? You know, I know of, Boom knows of it. I think most baseball fans, know of like the home run derby, the All-Star game itself. What are kind of like just like some of like the other like maybe lesser known things or just kind of things that make up the entire All-Star game experience that you should be aware of if you ever go to an All-Star game?
Yeah, the coolest thing that I thought was there's this huge convention center, and it's the Play Ball event. And what there is there's like a whole bunch of booths from various amounts of different companies, of course, baseball related. And you go into this convention center, and there's like a Topps booth. So if you're into baseball cards, there's a Cooperstown booth for the Hall of Fame. There's a booth for the Negro Leagues, which is really, really cool. There's a booth for women in baseball. There's of course a shop, and there's a lot of activities from VR, so people can actually play different baseball video games. There's an MLB The Show booth where people could play MLB The Show, and there's a lot of like seeing how hard you can throw different pitches, see what your home run swing could look like. One of the coolest things, especially for like the littler kids, is there was like a draft booth where you got to go up. There's this guy announcing kids' names, and it would be like, Johnny from New York gets drafted #1 overall to his hometown team, the Mets. And like everyone around like cheers. They have like all the different jerseys, and then they grab the jersey to put on the kid. And I thought that was really, really cool, really, really special. So I believe it's been there in the past and will continue to be there, but just all of those different events within the convention center, like as a part of like the Play Ball park or the Play Ball event, was really cool. And I had to go back 2 or 3 different times just to check out all of the booths that were there.
Man, it's just FOMO for real. I mean, I gotta put it on my bucket list, just wherever it's at. I know it's gonna be in Seattle next year, and Seattle is a hop and joint. But of course, it was in LA for the first time since 1980. So, and that ballpark is the most fair home run at ballpark. It is symmetrical. But talk to us about that experience of witnessing the home run derby.
Oh my goodness. I had never been to Dodger Stadium before, and I was so looking forward to it. And the home run derby, so we got there just a tad bit late. So we kind of got there near the end of Julio Rodriguez's very first round. And so like we were hearing the crowd outside the stadium because the Creators Cup ran a little bit late. But we got into the stadium, we get to our seats, and it's just breathtakingly beautiful, the stadium. And where it's situated, it's on top of like a mountain, if you will, not like a total mountain, maybe more so of a hill, but like you have some elevation, and then you look over, especially the right field seats, and it's just a whole landscape of mountains in the background. And then you look over the left field, and you can kind of see down the little mountain that Dodger Stadium is placed on. So the views are breathtaking. And then to witness the home run derby, I'd never been to any all-star game, any all-star event, and to be at the home run derby was incredible. One of my favorite moments throughout the whole derby was Albert Pujols when he was going up against, I believe, Kyle Schwarber, and he had advanced to the next round. The whole crowd, no matter who you were a fan of, rooted and cheered and clapped for Albert. It was like such a goosebump, surreal feeling.
Oh my gosh. Kyle Schwarber bowing to the true king.
Yes.
Yeah. So from watching the game, just my experience, it seemed I admit that I haven't paid as much attention historically as a baseball fan to the All-Star game, but this year's All-Star game, just like I could kind of feel the atmosphere almost from the TV at my buddy's place where I was watching it. It just felt extra spirited compared to maybe how it has been. Just I felt like there was just so much budding energy.
Yeah.
Just a good time, like seeing that place packed with fans with all different jerseys of like their favorite teams, favorite players, whether current or past. Like that's the game, and then so the game itself, like what was the feeling of like the All-Star game itself?
Yeah, so I was actually not at the All-Star game. I was catching it on my trip back in the airplane, but like I agree 100%. Like I was watching it on the plane, and the energy was very palpable just from my little tablet screen that I was watching it. And the energy was very much there, like during the home run derby, you know, the American League on one side, National League on the other side. It was really cool seeing the players kind of bounce around one another, have different conversations. A lot of them had like their families and their kids. Like the second the home run derby ended, there were a few players that kind of grabbed their little kids and like ran the bases with them, you know, underhand toss to some of them. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that it'll be the first of many trips to Dodger Stadium. You got to hit that up. Petco, the Angel Stadium.
Yeah, Angel Stadium, just up the road. I mean, it's the traffic there. You'll get to see your White Sox when they're in town each year against the Angels, which will which would be cool. Yeah. So, and then so what are kind of all like the specifics of what your new gig down there with the San Diego studio?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll be focusing on like the Diamond Dynasty section of MLB The Show. So all of the live content, if you will, where we put content into the game as the game is released throughout the cycle. So my job will be to research, create, test, and then launch all of that different content.
Wow.
The goal is to kind of try out every little thing, see where my niche might be, see where there might be like adventures for new ideas, what we can do for bringing like old ideas back. So that's like the most exciting is to see like, oh, which card should we drop when? What kind of moments should we bring back? I mean, the Field of Dreams game is tomorrow. So of course I was not part of the new Field of Dreams content that just dropped this week, but it's kind of exciting to see like, oh, what do we bring back? What kind of history are we going to be throwing in there? What kind of story are we going to be telling? So to have like a firsthand touch on what kind of content is going to be continuously rolling out throughout the game is really exciting. And then of course the combination of the past, present, and future, bringing in like legends, current players who are superstars, and then putting a spotlight on all these different prospects and giving them a chance to have a pretty good card in the game that people can use and hopefully enjoy.
Man, it just sounds like you're perfect for this position. you yourself are a fan of the game.
Yes.
You have a ton of experience playing it, and it's a smart move on their part to have someone as young as yourself who it's just you're bringing a young, fresh face to the company, and it's going to be for their benefit because. It's going to help kind of tap into the younger audience that's playing the game because that MLB The Show, I feel, is something that young fans can, and it's how they can relate to the game.
Yes.
They can match their love of playing video games with the game with the hopes that that'll translate to them falling up in love with the sport of baseball.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite things that ever, like playing this game for as many years as I have, is you're always learning something new. There's always a player that comes up and you're like, wait a minute, who's that player? So then you research that player. Of course, you know, the live team provides information on that player. So the ability to like learn and teach the game of baseball is one of the coolest assets of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think it's interesting how, like, yeah, the Barry brought up a great point, just how the younger generation, I feel like, gets introduced to sports and like really falls in love with it now. And it's like comparative to video gaming, which I think was a lot more casual when we grew up there. It just didn't have that sort of push. I feel like it was and I think it was more in kind of like a arcade type of like format there. There wasn't the online play, all of that. I mean, it was just kind of developing back in the 2000s when we grew up. There, and it just didn't have that sort of like drive and kind of development for for pushing fans kind of into the game now. But it was more of like when we grew up, it's like, hey, your team was the team that you grew up with. There was no like special relationship that you had with like a creator, someone who lives thousands of miles away from you and stuff, that got you that got you into your favorite player and everything like that. Everybody loved the same team. And now it's like it's different in terms of like how kids now are falling in love with the game and in love with players, and like how it's not always linear with like where they grew up and and all that stuff. So yeah, and certainly Major League Baseball's got stuff up its sleeve right now in terms of how it's changing the game, how it wants to grow it and stuff. I think they're over in London next year for a series, if I'm not mistaken. So certainly that's something your team will be working on around that. So
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to look forward to. And that's like the coolest thing that you just brought up is with the younger generation, where you kind of grow up and it's like, okay, your team is your team. My team is the White Sox. And what's so cool about this game is like you can create a team of players not on your hometown team. And it kind of just like grows that appreciation for baseball, where people are like, oh, look at Juan Soto, I want him on my team. Look at Jacob deGrom, I want him on my team. Look at Alex Bregman, all of his community work and how he plays on the field. I want him on my team. So it comes like, okay, I'm a White Sox fan, but now I'm an Astros fan, a Padres fan, a Mets fan. And it's really, really cool to kind of recognize like this is where my fandom is, but then I can still appreciate and enjoy players, whether they're on my hometown team or not. So to kind of see that philosophy within kids is one of the coolest things ever. I was on a softball league in like my community, and some of them had, youngins, and, they were White Sox and Cubs fans, but some of them would be wearing like little Tatis t-shirts or little Acuna t-shirts. And it's like, that's really, really cool when you can be like, hey, you might not be on my team, but I recognize you and you're my favorites.
There you go. I saw the tweet. I've been seeing your tweets on that. You're an on-base machine.
Yeah.
Yes, you're playing the money ball. It's
right.
about drawing those 100%.
Walks. Yeah, I have like so many walks. There was one game that I literally went 0 for 0 at the plate with 3 walks and 3 runs. None of the pitches were hittable. I'm like, okay, this is slow pitch softball. Give me something to hit. And it's like 2 feet outside. I'm like, it's okay. We'll just get on base. No, it's okay. I'm a contact hitter. Make some contact. Get the wheels. Get down the line. We're good.
So are you a righty or do you bat both ways?
Yes, I'm a righty. I in batting practice, I got to take a couple swings from the left-handed side. Not in game time though.
Oh no, you got to put the game face on.
Yes, exactly.
For sure. So, are you one of the first members of your family to kind of jump ship and head west?
Yes. All of my family is east. I have family in Florida, I have family in Illinois, I have family in Ohio, and I'm the one going the other direction. But they're absolutely thrilled. I'm like, come visit. Or I'm like to like my parents, I'm like, just think about this in however many years, whenever you're considering retirement. I heard San Diego's nice. And then like with all of my friends. Yeah, I'm like, come to San Diego. We can like take over an apartment complex together.
Yeah. I mean, so what like, if in the limited research that you've done, I mean, what are you looking forward to about the area and just the fun things to do?
I have been like researching like crazy, like all the different local food spots. There's like so many like taco and burrito recommendations that I've received. I'm excited to try all of them.
The Mexican food in Southern California is fantastic.
I am so excited.
Comparative to, I mean, I love the Tex-Mex here, but I think the Southwest style Mexican food, where it's a lot more like grilled meats, fish tacos, just kind of spreads of that nature there. And I mean, everything just tastes absolutely fantastic. Yeah, get yourself a California burrito while you're there. Carne asada. I think there's like fries or potatoes in it and guacamole. It is an experience for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it all. I mean, there's like the San Diego Park and Zoo, that kind of, or the Safari Park and Zoo, if you will, and like there's a zip line, I think, in like the park portion of the zoo, which is really incredible. The Petco Park, of course, and the coolest thing is, I'm like, this is perfect timing. This must have been meant to be. The White Sox are actually in town September 30th, October 1st and 2nd that weekend. So I was like, I'll be around. I'll be there. Yeah. Hopefully, at least one game, if not the whole series. I'll be in the neighborhood, and like that's gonna be pretty exciting.
Oh man, that's awesome! If you happen to run into Tony Hawk, tell him to do a kickflip.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't want to be that person who becomes his next tweet who didn't recognize him.
So like, the next I gotta member put my game of the face Tony on. Hawk's existential nightmare.
Yes, exactly. So I have to study some pictures and be like, Tony, no, Tony, no, Tony, yes. Point them out in the crowd.
I could probably point him out anywhere, and I also recognize that man's voice anywhere too, because he's just got like the smooth
yes.
kind of like Southern Californians don't really have an accent. They just have they just have vernacular and like ways that like kind of like a rhythm of how they say things. Yeah. It's like very easily identifiable. It's like, oh, you're from California.
100%. Yes.
All right. So kind of switching gears now to baseball as a whole. I figure we're kind of spitballing at this point now. At this point in the conversation here, before getting fully into the White Sox, what are kind of like some of your observations of the 2022 Major League Baseball season? Just, things that you expected, things that have been surprising, the biggest disappointments other than the White Sox. Just kind of your kind of analysis of the 2022 season as it's been to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. From like the player side of things, like the Aaron Judge storyline absolutely captivated me. Turned down a contract, and it was a pretty nice contract, but he's like, you know what? I know I can do better. I'm going to bet on myself. And that can be a little risky. And especially, with injuries and maybe it's just not your year, all that fun stuff. And the dude is going out and mashing home runs as often and as effectively as he can. So that's been an absolutely fun storyline. I'm really excited to see what happens at the end of the season with him and the Yankees. Team-wise, we just got done with the trade deadline. The San Diego Padres, my goodness, it's a good thing I'll be able to catch a ton of their games in person. Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Brandon Drury. They basically gave Eric Hosmer to the Red Sox for free just to make all these different moves work. And I really want them to make it to the World Series because it's like go big or go home. And they went big. Of course, got your two hometown favorites in the Houston Astros, who they're just kind of doing their thing. You don't really talk about them a lot, but like they're on their radar. They're taking care of the Yankees in their series. A big player on that team who's having a phenomenal season after coming back from Tommy John surgery, Justin Verlander, who, in my personal opinion, is going to win Comeback Player of the Year. And he's the guy to beat for also the Cy Young Award. But, Dylan Cease, don't forget about him.
Robbed.
Right? But it's been absolutely incredible. All the different like player-led storylines, the team-based storylines, and then there's the Chicago White Sox, and it's like
they're only 2.5 games out or something.
Yeah,
like that,
Thank goodness the AL Central is what it is because it still allows us all the false optimism. But we'll see how it turns out.
What is the story of the White Sox this year? Why have things unfolded the way they have here? I don't think anybody expected it. I think the White Sox were kind of turned into America's favorite team to really pull for going into the beginning of the year. There were really big expectations between injury issues, personnel decisions, just a whole host of things have been a problem out there on the South side. what has it been from your perspective that's really defined this team this year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a multitude of different things. You mentioned injuries. We were plagued by so many of them during spring training, during the start of the season. We lost Eloy Jimenez once again pretty early. Yasmani Grandal just had surgery. Tim Anderson is now out. Basically, the core players besides Jose Abreu, somebody has gotten hurt. They've been on the injured list, so it's hard to kind of have that team rhythm, that team cohesiveness. But speaking of cohesiveness, for the first over 50 games, I'm sure that number is much larger, the White Sox did not put out the same lineup at all first 50, 60, even more games, at least 50 though. Every single game had a different lineup. And Of course, there is some strategy toward that. But when you're batting, second one day, eighth the next day, you're in and you're out. It's like there's hard to get that rhythm. Okay, I'm batting first. I got to get on base. Okay, now I'm ninth. I got to make sure I find a way to turn over the lineup and keep the momentum moving. So to not have like a solidified role and to have that kind of inconsistency, I thought didn't really help the squad too much. We also have been struggling on defense. Our fly ball, ground ball ratio, like this is a team built of power hitters. And Aaron Judge at some point had more home runs himself than the whole White Sox did in at least of the first half of maybe even June, as recent as June, if I'm not mistaken. So it's all of these different effects. Of course, we have very, very questionable managerial decisions from what the lineups are looking like, who's coming out of the bullpen, who's starting where, and it's just this team is mediocre at best, and it's really, really painful to say because like this is your victory window. Other teams are only getting better. The AL Central, yes, it's a little bit of a laughing stock right now. It is still wide open, but it's only going to get better, especially when you look over with the Tigers, who made some pretty big moves today, especially in the firing of Al Avila, and I believe the president as well. But they're making moves, they're getting younger, their prospects are being called up. It's like you gotta go. This is your window, or other teams are going to take that from you.
Yeah, we just got the elephant in the room is Tony La Russa, and I mean, I'm sure it's not just him, but yeah, you just got to wonder. And it's interesting that you bring up the lineups because Kevin Cash is one to switch up lineups all the time, and yet it doesn't seem like a problem for them. But they've only won 2 more games than the White Sox, but I just think that's kind of like a package deal when it comes to the Rays. I think they're used to it at this point.
Yeah.
The volatility. And then you juxtapose that with Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker is a lot more, all right, you're the 3 guy, you're the 4 guy, you're the leadoff, and little switches here and there. But your perspective, I could definitely see how that can kind of screw up the momentum, and it is a balancing act. But yeah, it's the Guardians and the Twins are tied for first place. Y'all are a game and a half behind. I guess it's the team name change. It's giving them a pep in their step.
Yeah, I was just like reading a graph or seeing a graph the other day where the Guardians have the youngest team of all of baseball in both their batters and their pitchers. So I'm like, come on, White Sox. It's not going to get any easier than this season, maybe next season. So it's just really difficult to like watch them win a game and you're like, oh, the momentum's back, and then they lose 2 in a row. But now they win 2 in a row and then they lose. It's like there's no sense of momentum and like long win streak.
I've jokingly here started just in my head calling the White Sox the 500 Sox, because it seems like every time we get out here record an episode, I pull up the standings. They're right at 500. Yep. No more wins nor losses. Indifference there. It's just flat 500. But yeah, we'll see if they can rock that fun differential, aka having a minus 13 run differential at this point of the year through Wolf is correct on that one.
It's been rough.
Yeah. So that doesn't sound like I asked Boom this question on our show last night, if there's any confidence within the AL Central of one of, we got the expanded wild card this year. So even as weak as this division is, there could be 2 teams, that come out of this and ultimately get into the playoffs. Do you have any any faith in any of these teams from this division possibly, just getting in there and making some noise? Is there any formidable path for your White Sox to be in that conversation there? If outside of fantasy lands, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, as bad as the White Sox have played, there realistically is an opportunity to still make the playoffs because they're only, a game and a half back, 2.5 games back. So there is that opportunity of the AL Central is wide open, especially because the White Sox end with a few series against the Minnesota Twins. So that becomes interesting in two different ways. If you beat the Twins, you're going to gain in the standings. However, one of the teams has to lose between the Twins and the White Sox. So who's that third team that could take advantage? The Guardians. The Guardians just have to win their games here and there, kind of play even, but as they're in a three-way race, if you will, one of those teams is going to lose ground between the White Sox and the Twins. The Guardians just have to kind of stay afloat, stay leveled. They very easily could sweep or lead themselves into the lead of the division, depending on what happens between the White Sox and Twins. Like maybe the White Sox and Twins split at best. If the Guardians can come out with a winning record, boom, they're on top. Even though the White Sox and Twins themselves didn't lose ground, the Guardians kind of snuck up. I don't believe out of the three teams, whichever teams don't win the division, I don't believe they're going to be strong enough and have strong enough records for the wild card, especially kind of leading to awesome storylines this year. The Baltimore Orioles are so close, if not already in that third wild card spot.
They are tied with the Rays.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess there is that third wild card possibility, but I don't know. The Orioles are looking pretty good, but they did make some trades, got rid of, Trey Mancini, who's now on the Astros, as well as Jorge Lopez, but they're finding a way to win. But I do believe that I really, really want my White Sox to win. I want them to be postseason, but I'm kind of reminded of like the 2021 Padres where they missed the postseason. And then they made the appropriate, changes in leadership roles. There were a few firings. So it's kind of like, what happens here? Are we going to get the result we need if we miss the postseason? If we get, destroyed in the first round, if we make the postseason, when we still get changes in the front office? That is yet to unfold. But as a fan, it's like, I want them to win, but they almost don't deserve to make the playoffs at this point, which really stinks and hurts to say.
That's such a rough position to be in when you have it's your team, but you don't have faith in members of upper management, manager, GM, owner. Of course, you can't get rid of the owner, but it's almost like what's worse, making the division series best of 3, getting knocked out, or losing. But the plus side being, you hope it's the impetus for change. And then it's a maybe next year kind of situation. And then I don't know. It's like we had so much optimism going into this season, and I don't know. It's like, I'm sure there's part of you that wants it to be a Nationals kind of moment where it's like you're the wild card team and you take down the top dog.
Yes, 100%. I was like reminded of like the 2019 Nationals where I'm like, maybe that's the White Sox. Then you keep watching the White Sox play and you're like, maybe it's not actually us. But there is that optimism, anywhere we can still scrounge up that hope and faith in your team, you will. But we're almost running out of time.
You see some games like I was out at Globe Life Field here in DFW on Sunday, seeing the series finale of the Rangers and the White Sox. And your boy Lucas Giolito had a fantastic outing there, 100+ pitches, only gave up one run, I think, in like 6 or 7 innings of work. They're hitting the ball all over the place out there, and then it's like the next game they can't hit the broadside of a barn, and it's just arms are dead left and right, and it's just it's like, what team is this? Like, who's going to show up today?
It is a struggle, and it's like then there's like caution with who's playing however many days in a row, who's taking breaks and all that fun stuff, and it's like, I don't really think that's working. You got to get into your rhythm. I know like Tim Anderson was somebody who like Tony was like, oh, he'll never play both games in a doubleheader. We need to rest him. So they rest him. And then before you know it, he's out for the next 4-6 weeks with a hand injury, which is rather unfortunate because like he's our catalyst at the top of the lineup.
Yeah.
So like the lack of rhythm and cohesiveness, and that just kind of leads to the game where, in the game prior, Dane Dunning sliced up the White Sox order. And then the day after, it's like, oh, it's a hit parade. And not just a hit parade, it's an extra base hit parade that the White Sox are having such a hard time finding those extra base hits.
Yeah. Do you have any confidence in the White Sox farm system? Anybody coming up in AA, AAA that you want to get called up ASAP?
Right. It's no one really this year, but like an interesting story is Lenine Sosa, who was called up a few months ago. He was called up once again to take the position of Tim Anderson, and he's a really, really cool story. He went straight from AA to the majors, got his first hit. Just the other day, when he was recalled back up, he hit his first big league home run against Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium, which is really, really cool. So I love to see more of him because he's had a lot of explosiveness every time he advances to the next level in the farm system. So he's somebody that I would love to get as many at-bats as possible for as long as he's back with the team before Tim Anderson returns. There's a few names in the farm system because that's another thing. The White Sox don't have the best farm system, but there are three pretty big names. You have Yoenis Cespedes, or not Yoenis, excuse me, Yoelqui Cespedes. I just read a headline about Yoenis the other day. You have Yoelqui Cespedes, who's been doing pretty well. There's Colson Montgomery, who's been jumping, and not only the White Sox overall rankings, but Major League Baseball's overall rankings. I believe he's around 30th now in Major League Baseball. He has an incredible on-base streak going on between, I want to say, high single A and then double A. So that's been really exciting. And then there's Oscar Colas, who should provide a lot of fire and spark and power. So those are like the three biggest names, but they're definitely not Major League ready for this year. And they're kind of the only names we really have for however long they're going to stay with us or maybe get, dealt in a trade.
There you go. So we got a surprise appearance.
Yes, the Catalans are trying to sneak in. I have a chair next to me that they like to sit on.
How many cats are in your house? 3. The 3 amigos.
Yes.
There you go. We gotta love it. If you were the owner of the White Sox, you had unilateral control, and you wanted to turn this team around ASAP, what are you doing?
Yeah, so it starts with leadership. It's like the lack of leadership. So I would definitely, consider a new manager. I would also consider a new hitting coach because the ratio of the kind of hits and the philosophy is simply not getting the job done with the kind of hitters. A lot of the time the batters just look lost at the plate. Luis Robert is, if he's not leading, he's up there in first pitch chase percentage. And he's somebody that if he's swinging at strikes, he's typically making good contact. But the fact that he's mixing in a whole bunch of swings on pitches outside of the zone and not allowing himself to go deeper in at bats, that kind of hitting philosophy needs to change. But on the good side, with good news, we have an awesome pitching coach in Ethan Katz, and I need him to stay because he's been doing very, very well. He's been doing good stuff with Renato Lopez, who just returned from the injured list, Jimmy Lambert, who's a new face. Look at Johnny Cueto and Michael Kopech, kind of rejuvenated Cueto. Kopech is kind of on his way. He's kind of like the 2019 Dylan Cease, if you will, right now, maybe even the 2020 Dylan Cease, where hopefully, 1 to 2 years from now, we're going to have Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech in Dylan Cease form, which is really, really cool. So that's kind of where it starts. And then, we got to look at like the GM position. The White Sox were awfully quiet at the trade deadline. They just made one move, player for player. Jake Diekman came to the South Side, but he's been actually pretty good in his few appearances that he's already had. And then it's kind of like, hey, players, like we need to rally against one another. There needs to be cohesiveness. Of course, not everybody's going to like everyone, but we all have the same goal of winning a ball game. So how can we all, appreciate one another for doing our jobs, being on the field, max effort all the way. I know it's a little bit of a struggle when you see guys who can hustle down the line and they're not hustling down the line. So then they're out by a step instead of safe by a step. It's kind of like the Ricky Renteria philosophy of our boys don't quit. That was like his philosophy is like, as long as you're hustling and you're showing heart, that's what I want. And that's something I would love to call attention to for the team.
Yeah, man, I think a new manager would do you guys well. I think that will make a lot of bit difference when it comes to hitting coach. What you need to do, you need to look around and look at an assistant hitting coach of a team. And just kind of pull them out from underneath. It's just like, hey, you want a promotion? You
Right?
want to be the guy?
Yeah.
Come on down. So, yeah, I hope it's just you want the best no matter what. But it's just so sad, and it's like it's hard for us because we're talking about how it's like the season's over, but you're 2 games back in the wild card, you're 1.5 game back here, but it's so you don't want to be too jaded, but it's I want to see you guys back at it again because I just feel like last year is like you stuck your claim. It's like this is our division.
Yes.
We're gonna have it a 12-game lead or something like that, and you can't have Cleveland and Minnesota coming up. I mean, oh man.
Can I just say that when I was at the Rangers game the other day versus the White Sox, that my buddy that I was with pointed out to me that we had just crossed the 9-year anniversary of the Rangers receiving Alex Rios for Leury Garcia, and Garcia is still in Chicago after all this time. Just Rios is like retired now, so
yes.
Goodness, yeah, just one of those interesting front office decisions from the the White Sox of old. That's for sure.
Surprisingly, Leury Garcia is the longest tenured active White Sox player right now. He beats out Jose Abreu by 1 year because Garcia was 2013 and then Abreu was 2014.
Wow.
Yeah,
he's nuts.
He's still there.
Crazy. All right. Well, looks we've been at this now for about 40 minutes at this point. I know we're recording an extra episode for this week here. It's been fun. Would should probably be winding it down at this point right now. Let us all kind of finish out our evenings as we're going to do at this point. Boom, do you have anything else you want to talk about here with Ashley as we kind of wrap things up?
No, Ashley, it was great as always. You're a friend of the pod. You're someone who it's just been so cool to have you on for as many times as we have, and we look forward to having you on again when you're in Cali.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it.
It'll be so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. It is always a pleasure to be here.
Oh man, the pleasure is ours. Ashley, go ahead, give a plug for our audience. Tell them about what you got going on.
Of course. I will be taking a hiatus, but I do stream on Twitch at Ashley_Sanders. You can find me on Twitter at Ashley22Sanders, and I'm also a writer and editor at Southside Sox through SB Nation.
There you go. Michael Morin says he can't wait to see you at the SDS streams.
Let's go.
There you go. I'll be looking forward to it. Yeah, follow her on Twitter. Yes, and Instagram. Keep up with her. So, but yeah, thank y'all for watching us. Thank y'all for commenting on the stream. As for us, go ahead and subscribe to us wherever you're listening to this podcast episode. We're available on all major podcast platforms. Go ahead and like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at BoomBoss21, Travis at Travis Lawfully. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see Ashley Sanders there. You can watch it after the fact as you're going into work tomorrow. We have the visual effect, which is so awesome. You get to see the cats, as you're coming through. It's like if you're listening to it, it's just like, where are they? Well, you gotta watch it. So subscribe there. If you've been watching us for a while, please consider joining our Patreon today. $2, $5, $10, whatever you want. You get discounts on merch. You get a whole bunch of crazy things. Shout out to longest standing patron Tad Bostic and Patreon producer Don Hale. Lastly, check out the merch store. We got mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, onesies, baseball shirts, phone cases. With our partnership at TeePublic, really, you can just get yourself decked out like crazy. Stuff for the whole family, I can attest, all the way from little babies all the way up to me and the dad bod. You get it all at the description below. Trav, let's land the plane.
Friends, no matter what you do in life, do it like the top players in Major League Baseball are doing, with the mentality of batting 400 and always swinging for the fences. We love y'all, and we'll see you guys next time.